Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club. Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club. Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club. Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club.
It's all that shit stuff.
Hello and welcome back to Tom and Ollie's Big Kids Club.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Ollie. And
today we have a special guest, a former bandmate and very good friend, Garry Payne. It's going to lead on to what we're talking about today, and I think we mentioned it in the last episode. I said to Ollie to watch Beyond the Mat, which is one of the best wrestling documentaries ever made, I believe. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan in the world. Oh, Gary's already grimacing down there. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan in the world, but I love this documentary. And yeah, so as I said, I played in the band with Garry. Do you want to introduce yourself anyway, Garry?
Yeah, you said it all there, mate. My name's Garry. I've known Tom for, I don't know, we were about 20 when we met. So yeah, 17 years, nearly 20
About
years.
5 years, isn't it, mate?
all right,
About 5
top
years.
trumps.
Oh no, it wasn't like that. I'm just but yeah, a long time. Like I said, we used to muck about in bands and that as well.
Which bands were you in?
So I
All
was
these
in a
shit
band with,
ones.
all my shit ones. That's all of them. No, Garry was in a band with me called Female Smell. And we did a load of like little tours and stuff. We got some hijinks. But Garry was also in a band called Diet Pills. And when I first met Garry was in a band called Cousin Scampy, and he lived in Leicester. And he put my band on Knives quite a few times in Leicester. In fact, Christmas is Shit, which was one of the festivals you used to put on there at the Attic. And they were the best gigs to go to. And we had a great time. And I think we entertained a few people.
Yeah. Well, the first time I met you, you were with My Name is Legion.
That was it, yeah.
And then Death of the Champion the week after.
Death of the Champion the week after, because I got kicked out of My Name is... No. Yeah, it carried on. But yeah, so... Ollie, you've now watched this documentary. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, I was surprised. I don't think I've ever heard of it. And I didn't realise it was quite an older one. So it was about 20 years old, wasn't it? So... because I messaged you going, are you sure this is the right one? Because it's like 20 years old.
Imagine if you've watched the wrong one now.
But no, just to kind of backtrack a little bit. So my history with wrestling is that I think back in 1990 when I was I don't know, about 5, 6, 7, we never had Sky or anything, so I could never watch it on TV. But I had all the toys. I had my first one I had was Jake the Snake Roberts, where you could pull his arm back. And he punched, and I had the Ultimate Warrior where he pressed down on his chest and he kind of jumped, and I had the Legion of Doom, the Bushwhacker Brothers, the Hulk Hogan that kind of did this. I had all those figures. I had all the cards. I had the magazines and stuff, but I never watched it. I had, in fact, the only time I saw it was for my birthday. I got WrestleMania 3 on VHS, or I think it was WrestleMania 3, and it was Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior on the front cover. But when I was a kid, I think Ultimate Warrior was my favourite. Don't know why. He just was. But then I very quickly kind of got out of it, and a lot of my friends kind of stuck with it, and especially in the late 90s, with the Attitude Era and stuff like that, they kind of were really into that. I watched it mainly because Sable was in it, and being
because who was in it? Sorry,
Sable.
Fable.
Sable.
Who's that?
Just a female wrestler.
Oh, right. The well-endowed one with the big muscles.
I don't really
that's
narrow
China.
it down a bit, but...
No, Sable didn't have muscles. She was pretty much like a Playboy kind of
very
model,
90s, Baywatch.
Kind of just
vibes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised I don't remember.
Look her on Google when we're finished.
I will.
But yeah, we played the video games, the Attitude video games and the NWO video games on... the N64 and stuff, but to be honest, after other than that, I don't really have much interest in wrestling. But this documentary I thought was really good, and it kind of complemented the Louis Theroux documentary that probably came out around the same time, and it kind of covered a lot of the same topics as well, but in a bit more of a jovial kind of manners. I mean, Louis Theroux now has his documentaries have kind of grown up as he's grown up. But back then, when he did his weird weekends and stuff, it was more about just finding weird and kooky stuff. But this documentary, I thought it was really cool, and it was definitely like an inspiration for films like The Wrestler or something like that.
Oh, massively,
Do you know what
I think.
But it proper depressed me, though, this documentary, though, seeing Jake the Snake Roberts and like things like that. What did you think then?
Myself, personally, I remember watching it years ago, and I just saw it pop up on Netflix, and I was like, I've got to watch this again. And I remember it being quite haunting. And like the problems that Jake the Snake had with obviously it was like, I think it was crack cocaine. And the thing that stuck in my mind is when he's with his daughter, and I think he only sees her maybe once a year. And I think after that scene where they've met in like a hotel room, he didn't see her again for another year. I think that comes up in text underneath. But like,
No, he was in he went to prison, didn't he?
Did he go to prison after that?
Yeah, for avoiding child welfare payments.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And obviously the other guy who's in it, Mick Foley. Like Gary always used to talk to me about Mick Foley because I believe he's one of your favourites. And he plays Mankind and Cactus Jack.
And Dude Love. Dude Love had the best theme music, if I remember.
Dude Love, I didn't even know he did a third one.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to get on that, Tom. You'd love Dude
Honestly,
Love. Yeah.
Dude Love, okay. But like his scenes as well, like really struck a chord with me, man. Like when he's got his kids there at the side of the ring, and his wife's there, and they're basically screaming because they're seeing their dad being beaten up, and it's that sort of is this real? Is this fake? And obviously, people say like the match is predetermined, but I think this documentary for me. I don't know. I don't want to use the word sport, but it showed me how much time, effort, and literal blood, sweat, and tears goes into it. And
dude,
it really
you throw anyone on the floor, no matter how much you practice, it's still going to hurt.
Yeah, totally, man.
You throw a chair on someone's head, it's still going to hurt.
Very, very true, man. But like going back to you saying about the figures as well, I had. Not all of them, but I had the majority of them. And it was that 90s thing. And my next door neighbour, because we didn't have Sky or cable or whatever you call it, used to film them for us. Like film all the matches. And you get the Simpsons and you get the wrestling. And she'd give us the VHS. And I'd just watch them all the time. The singing, I don't know, that era of wrestling to me, because I've watched it with Gary, is just so entertaining. Whereas it's, for me now, I'm not into the newer stuff. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but
I think it is nostalgia. But what about you, Gary? Then tell us about how you got into wrestling and.
So yeah, I would have been the same age as you two when I got into it. My uncle used to tape it for us off Sky because we didn't have Sky either. It was like I don't know, like how many 1 in 10 people used to have like satellite TV back in the day. We'd watch that, and then we'd get to the point where we were renting pay-per-views from like the local video shops as well, just constantly watching wrestling. But then you get into music and stuff and it's like whoosh, it's out the door then, and you're not too interested. But then some of my friends at college when I was like 17 were into it, and I started watching again for a couple of years and then stopped again, and then got back into it more recently, but more the kind of not WWE, the other stuff.
What's the other stuff?
It's just endless. I mean, there's big promotions in Japan, other American promotions, Mexican promotions, UK, which is now where I've settled. Where I just kind of watch UK stuff and go and see it live. I live in London, so I'm sport for choice. Really.
Right. I was going to say, here in Birmingham, we've got the K-Star Wrestling, and when I used to work at Game, the video game shop, we had this lad, Andy, who worked there, and he was very quiet and timid. And we're like, what do you do at the weekends, Andy? And he'd be very quiet and he wouldn't say what he did. But over time, his confidence grew hanging out with us. And we found out he was a wrestler in this thing called K-Star Wrestling. And his character was called Sebastian, and he was a vampire. Originally, he was a skater that got hit by a skateboard, and then he resurrected as a vampire.
Now that's a story.
But like we used to go and watch him and like at like social clubs and stuff, and it was hilarious. Like to be fair, they were really good, and they had this kind of like character that no one knew who played him because he had a mask on, and I think the idea is loads of them played him so he could fight everybody and stuff like that. But like the kids, like 5-year-old kids, fucking went ape shit, and like if any villains there, they were like booing them and cheering them, and it was amazing. Like.
Yeah,
and then,
you've got to get into it. You've got to be booing and cheering, or there's no point going.
And then a guy I went to school with, he was a wrestler as well, and his name was Ted Testosterone.
He wasn't doing wrestling, dude. That's another sort of wrestling. Well, I'm gonna come out with something here. When I was at school, I actually used to do grassroots wrestling, like grappling. And I might actually send you some photos because I found them of me in a leotard because I used to go to competitions and everything. I actually got quite good. But yeah, what would my name be, Gary?
Oh,
go on.
Thomas the Tank, Thomas the White Adder.
Thomas the Wank Engine.
Yeah, there you go.
I think. What about Chopper? And you could be because you look a bit.
Yeah, Whopper.
What?
Depends how tight the leotard was.
Would you like have like a Spinal Tap courgette down your trousers?
I don't need it, mate. I definitely don't need it. What was I going to say then? So you were talking about like your friends being wrestlers. My wife and Gary, I can't remember if I got you tickets or Nat got you tickets. Went and met.
I got the tickets.
You got the tickets. You went and met like quite a famous wrestler. I have no idea who he is. What was his name?
William Regal.
William Regal. See, I did the same thing, but like they've got photos together, like Gary, him, and Nat. But what happened that was quite funny?
Don't, because I cringe all the time.
No, you got to say it. No, bless you, man. Go on.
Well, we'd had a few. I don't drink now, but I'd had a few beers.
Where did you meet this guy?
It was at the Glee Club.
Oh, okay.
So he did like a talk, and then you could like pay a bit extra and go meet him. And me and Nat were going to like not bother because, like I say, we'd had a few, but we decided to. And I don't know, it's a weird one to bring up, Tom. It's just.
Yeah, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but it does make me laugh. Like, did you double tap him?
I double tapped him, and he's like obviously like proper hard.
I explain what a double tap is.
You know when you're drunk and you're annoying, and you're just like, here, mate,
much so.
Tap like on his chest sort of thing.
Oh, I thought you meant it was like a wrestling move. I thought you like grabbed.
No, I don't know where double tap came from. It's just one of our little things.
But you double tapped him on the shoulder, didn't you, or something?
No, on his chest. You know when you tap someone on the chest to get their attention, like.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he looked at me like, I'm going to rip your head off.
I'm terrible though with celebrities as well. The amount of times I've met a celebrity and I've just said the exact wrong thing or done.
I don't normally do it. I avoid it like the plague. But
because didn't you, Ollie? You met Led Zeppelin singer.
Well, no, I was in John Lewis.
This is brilliant.
I was looking at the record players and stuff, and I was looking at like the ones that like lower down on the shelf, and I saw these boots. Like this person standing next to me, and I looked at these boots, and I was like thinking, these are not the boots of any normal mortal human being. What are these boots? They're almost like winkle pickers and kind of like very fancy and stuff. And like I started to travel up, like looking up, and as I got to the head, I was like, fuck me. It's Robert Plant. And he's standing right next to me. Like, I literally my body just shook and I was like, fucking hell. And so I sidestepped over to my wife and I was like, that's Robert Plant. And she's like, who? And I was like, fuck's sake. The singer of Led Zeppelin. She goes, no, it's not. I was like, it is. And I got him up on the phone and she was looking at it and looking at him. She goes, I don't know. And then I went, Robert Plant and wife, and then showed her a picture of them together. And she's like, that's him. And then I ended up stalking him around John Lewis, Solihull. And then what I didn't realise was, as I was following him, there was a team of people following me, following him. So everyone else had clocked on that Robert Plant was in John Lewis. And all of a sudden, I didn't realise there was people behind me, and he turned around, he looked shocked, and I thought, why is he looking shocked at me? Because it's just me and Caroline. And I turn around, and there's probably about 10 people behind me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he goes, the guy behind me was like, go on, you make the first move. And I was like, oh, hello, Mr. Plant. Just wanted to say I'm a massive fan of yours. And he went, I don't know who you're talking about. I'm Steve Bull. Steve Bull, yes, that's who I am. I'm Steve Bull. Look at all your faces. I'm Steve Bull. Steve Bull's like a Wolves football player.
I was going to say it's a Wolverhampton one, isn't it?
Yeah, very awkward. I've also seen Brian Malco buy cushions in John Lewis as well.
Brian Malco, not...
Yeah, from,
Placebo.
Placebo.
Have you? I'd have lost my mind.
I know you would have.
Yeah.
You'd be like, quick, where's my PVC trousers?
My best one, but we didn't go and talk to him because we were too scared, was we were on tour in the service station. And
hang on, you were playing in the service station?
No, we're on tour, so we'd stopped. Although, maybe next time. And our mate Mark Finney was with us, and this bloke walks in, and we look at each other and we're like, who's that? And like we recognised him from somewhere. And I was like, it's not like Pete Townend, is it, from The Who? And he's like, oh, it looks a bit like him, but I don't think it is. Anyway, about a minute goes past, and we just look at each other, and we just go, it's Bend Over. And it was like the porn star.
Was it honestly?
Yeah, it was. And
that old pervy git?
Yeah. And like everyone like in the rest of our band, like never heard of him. But
did you feel ashamed when you had to say who he was?
No, I mean, I've never watched his work, but I'd seen like documentaries about him.
His oeuvre.
Yeah,
with a name like Bend Over, he's not going to be it might be a plumber, I suppose.
And
yeah.
Oh yeah, it was just so funny when the penny dropped for both of us exactly at the same time.
So back to wrestling.
Yeah.
I've met Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, amazing!
And I got him to do the oh. That was cool. So yeah, back to the. Have you seen the documentary then?
Gary.
Yes.
Gary.
Yeah, but like
one,
basically, Tom asked me to come on like this morning, so I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. But yeah, I saw it years ago. I think my brother had it on VHS, so I must have rinsed it and watched it loads.
I mean, yeah, the quality's pretty bad, isn't it? It's definitely shot on like VHS tapes or like really like 16mm cameras, and it's very grainy and kind of.
I mean,
it's quite rough, but it's very honest.
It's a weird one. It's kind of one that kind of helped lift the veil a little bit.
Was it one of the first ones?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Vince McMahon allowed that then, because he's very protective over it, isn't he?
Well, Vince McMahon in that, it really showed his true light, because I felt awful, and I think the wrestler went on to die. But but his name was Puke originally.
No, he got paralysed, didn't he?
Yeah.
He got paralysed, he didn't die. But he's there, and he's having this meeting, and he's basically telling this wrestler, you're in, but your name's Puke, because you can puke on command, and then he's making him puke in a bucket in front of people, and it just felt a bit, I don't know, like extortion in a sense, like a bit, I don't know, it felt a bit weird, like a power play, and I know that's Vince McMahon all over.
But I guess also that guy thinking that's my USP, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I suppose
he was obviously touting that he can throw up on command, but when he threw up in the bucket in the film, it was kind of like
tiny.
It was like a little spit. I was like,
little bit of spit.
So, are you like more familiar with the other documentaries then? Because there's been a lot of documentaries, haven't there, over the years? Like,
yeah, I'm thinking. Like I said, I've not had much time to prepare. Thanks, Tom.
That's all right, mate. I thought I'd be professional as ever.
That's pretty standard for us, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm the same.
We did an aliens one, and we were like, let's talk about aliens. So, what do we know about aliens?
Nothing. I like it.
But if we're talking about Jake, though, I mean, the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, the one from a few years ago.
Is this the one where he's got clean?
Yeah, it's his redemption, and it's amazing.
Is that good? Where could I find that one?
You could stream it on Amazon. I don't know anymore.
Okay.
Or torrent it from a naughty site.
Was this one of the the official WWE ones, or is it like
No, this is so his story really, I suppose. Well, we know he had his issues with like drug abuse and everything, but there's a wrestler called Diamond Dallas Page, right, and he's got this program called DDP Yoga, and it's sorted all the wrestlers out, all their backs. It's just, I used to do it for a little bit, and it's awesome. And he kind of reached out to Jake and kind of got him clean, got him onto that, and sorted him out, sort of thing. And you know, to see a drug addict go back to being like a lucid, just with the sharpest mind you've ever seen.
Because that's
like,
what I've always thought about Jake the Snake. He is a clever bloke, isn't he?
Those promos are frightening.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really famous one where he just says nothing, it stares at the camera for like 2 minutes, and then he drops like one line. I wish I knew what it was, but it's
Jake the Snake. How are you gonna get him in the bottom line is this, my man. A man is dying of thirst has to have water. A dog that's starving has to have food. A child that's crying has got to have some attention. I have got to have you, Ted DiBiase.
just incredible.
But they were saying, like, obviously in the documentary, you find out he had, like, you know, he was born as a rape, like his mom was raped, and he was the result of the rape, and his sister got murdered, and they never found the body and stuff. You know, he's been through shit, and then, you know, being in the world of the WWE, it's probably like a whirlwind, like crazy existence where, like, so does wrestling tour different cities then? Is it like?
Yeah, I mean, as that promotion, the WWF. WWE, they've pretty much got a show on every night.
Every night?
Every day of the year, yeah.
In fact, like...
but they only televise like 2.
So are they in different states, different places every night, or just every week, or how does it work?
I think it's virtually every night.
Shit.
Yeah. It was at that point, wasn't it, in the States? Because I think when Jake the Snake was talking about it, he was just saying how, like, the pressure on his, like, what happened to his body, just, like, imagine doing that every night.
And they can't take it, you know, they couldn't take a day off because they'd lose their spot.
Yeah.
Because it's so competitive. And then they start taking the painkillers and the drugs.
And back then, obviously, like, steroids were, I suppose they were, like, pretty much given on the door, weren't they, when you walked in? Like, around the 90s? Or
I think because the big guys sold, that's what Vince is notorious for liking. I think they turned a blind eye to it.
He loves it.
Well, I think there's some stories about him and Shawn Michaels, but I wouldn't want to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's true. It's not been proven, but there's a lot of rumours.
Okay. I was in having a little kissy.
Shawn Michaels is in, like, one of the Rockers.
Yeah.
With Mighty Jannetty. Yeah. Interesting.
Mental. But I'm sorry, but Vince McMahon, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I could completely see that with him. I mean, because he became a wrestler at one point, didn't he? He started getting in the ring.
Hello, Gary.
Hello. Is Gary?
There we go. You're back, Gary. Yeah.
I think we're doing better now.
Cool. Right. So we're talking about So if you want to propose the question again, Tom.
So what was it I was saying?
Vince McMahon.
So did Vince McMahon and this other chap have relations?
Oh, we're going back to that.
No, I thought you were going to bat him being a wrestler.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm more interested in them just making out and kissing.
I don't want their lawyers coming after me.
So, what was the question I was asking, Ollie, of a professional?
Was Vince McMahon he became a wrestler?
Oh, that was it, Gary. So he became a wrestler at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, so it was after the infamous Montreal Screwjob.
What's this?
Sorry, what was the name of it?
The Montreal Screwjob?
Yeah, we're not going back to bend over.
Sorry. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Gary, Vince McMahon, didn't he become a wrestler at one point?
Yeah, it all was kind of kicked off by a bit of a pivotal moment in wrestling history, basically, called the Montreal Screwjob.
So explain the Montreal Screwjob.
I know this is going to be our like little thing now forever. So the Montreal Screwjob was basically there's a match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels in Montreal, home turf for Bret Hart, of course. Bret's leaving the company to go to WCW, but he's still got the belt. He wouldn't give it up, so they kind of fixed the match basically without telling him.
That's saying Bret Hart.
Yeah. And
how do you fix a match without telling someone though? I don't know how you do that.
So basically, Bret, obviously it's predetermined beforehand, but Bret thought he was going to win. But the Vince McMahon and his cronies told the referee to, call a submission at some point in the match, and Bret wasn't aware that was going to be the finish. So basically, he got kind of like screwed in front of his hometown. It was just embarrassing, and everyone was up in arms basically. But they couldn't let him take that belt with him. Got
you.
Right. Okay.
And what happened was, because Vince was ringside, Bret Hart actually like gobs right in his face. So you realise then as a fan, because this is kind of before the internet and was big and everything, you realise as a fan that Vince McMahon isn't just the announcer. He owns...
Was that the point where people realised this guy's the guy?
Yeah, unless you were in the business, no one really knew that. You just thought...
mad.
Yeah. But then they couldn't hide it anymore. And they had to address it, and they addressed it on TV, and then so he became this character that was like evil and was willing to double cross people, and he built it into the show.
He plays it really well.
Yeah, he's one of the classic bad guys.
And
was he a good wrestler though?
I think people say he was passable, really. But I think half the battle was the fact that he played that character so well. You can be a kind of a so-so wrestler, but if you're believable, it's just as good as being an amazing athlete. So he's hench anyway.
I thought it was quite interesting, how he said in the documentary, we're not making sport, we're literally making movies.
Yeah.
That's what. And then I didn't watch it, but apparently, so when COVID hit earlier this year, obviously it affected wrestling, but they did that kind of crazy Undertaker match, didn't they, in a cemetery? And it was kind of... Did you watch it? Was it any good?
No, I don't watch that the WWE stuff anymore. But I watched a few clips and fair play
to them. Very cinematic. And
yeah, I mean, well, that was something that's kind of the Hardy Boys invented a few years ago. They started making these videos, leading up and doing matches that way. It's I think WWE have kind of stolen it from them, really. But
so I wanted to ask you, Gary, obviously there's points in wrestling, very famous points that I wouldn't know, like I briefly touched on it earlier with yourself when we were talking about you coming on the show, and one of the moments that was in that documentary was I think they're called a cage match, and
Hell in a Cell.
That's it. And Mankind falls through the cage onto the mat, and that is a hell of a fall. And you were saying to me that is one of the pinnacle, the best matches, for yourself personally.
For me, yeah, that's the thing. Technically, a lot of people would argue it's not a great match, but you'd never seen anything like it before, so it sticks. It really sticks in people's minds. I think that moment, because you just thought, why aren't they stopping? Why isn't he just stopping? And he just kept going and going and going and going. Yeah. And I think famously after the match, Vince McMahon was just I really appreciate you doing that, but never do that again.
Because I remember
he could have died.
I remember watching that as a kid, because not only does he fall through it, there's another bit where he smacks onto a table as well, isn't there? From almost the top.
Yeah, that's worse. Basically,
yeah, it was just nuts.
And Undertaker just throws him like a rag doll off the top,
nuts,
and it's. But I think as well, Mick's his tooth comes out and there's a close up, and it's like his tooth has gone up his like nostril, and it's
because that's why I wanted to like originally, like when I was a kid, I remember seeing the advert for the like Beyond the Mat and seeing that like precise bit where he's just covered in blood. He's got like this mask on, and I was just like, what is this? This looks nuts.
I think for me that's not a good match because of the blood and gore and everything. It's a good match because it's someone who is not willing to give up.
Yeah.
Right, so it's the story aspect.
Yeah.
Of it, and I think that's, you know, I can't watch these like Japanese death matches or.
I was going to mention that as well.
I hate it.
Yeah, I think that because
what's that then? Sorry, what's the Japanese death match?
So it's a bit of a. I mean, they do like obviously hardcore matches all over the world, but the Japanese ones are famous for like having like explosives in the ring. I think there's one where they've got sharks like swimming around it. Yeah,
there's barbed wire, there's tacks on the floor. They're horrendous, man, to be honest. But it does touch on that in Beyond the Mat as well, because who's the wrestler who retires at the end? I've forgotten his name.
I don't know. You have to give me a clue. I've not seen it.
It's shit. Because I thought when I first watched
Terry Funk in it.
That's it. It's Terry Funk.
Terry Funk.
Because I thought that was Jake the Snake at first, because they're very similar looking fellows.
Yeah,
they are. Yeah,
similar vibe.
But his story throughout, and like I think at the end it says, and he retired and was back in the ring three weeks later.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that guy who was going to the hospital, and I think the doctor said to him, look, you need to have reconstructive surgery on both knees, otherwise you're not going to be able to walk. And he was like, well, I've got a match next week, so it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like a... I think
to survive in that business, you have to be like that anyway.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, that's why as a fan you love it, because they do literally put their lives on the line.
I can see that.
That sounds like a soundbite, but it's just truth.
No, I can. Yeah, it is.
And looking at the documentary as well, because it ends like in the Attitude Era, and you see in one shot just backstage hanging out, you've got Stone Cold Steve Austin, you've got Mick Foley, you've got The Rock, all these people who are so famous still to this day, and like The Rock is probably one day going to be the flipping president of the world one day when it.
I'd love that though. He's lovely. I like The Rock.
And like, it's so amazing what, like, you can see how he's so different to the other wrestlers. Like, he's kind of very, like, focused, and like he, you know, obviously he plays a bad guy on the show, but obviously he's a very likable person in real life. And like how you have like the Jake the Snake Roberts and who's the other guy? Sorry, Terry Funk and stuff, who kind of almost very self-destructive to a point, whereas you've got The Rock on the other hand, and probably maybe Stone Cold, they're very much got their shit more together. And I just wonder, like,
I think it's probably not a good place for someone who's got those kind of issues to be in, because it's because of the pressure, and you know, a bit like, I suppose, like, you know, rock stars going out and playing stadiums, then they're not going to go backstage and have a cup of tea because they're still just buzzing. I
was thinking this though, watching it. It's very much like you can understand why people who like Slipknot and stuff are very much into wrestling as well, because they're very kind of similar. They've all got their costumes. It's very theatrical. There's explosions going on, and then look, me and Tom went to see Slipknot earlier this year, and we went backstage because the support band I did a music video for. But it was really funny going backstage, because I was thinking, oh man, this is going to be nuts going backstage here. It felt like we were in the changing room of the swimming baths, and he was
totally.
Nurgle, and he was about 3 foot tall, with his manager, who's my friend Adam, and he was just sitting down, just chatting to us, and it was like, this is not what I was expecting.
See, I sort of was expecting it, because like working in the events industry, I always
know it more than I do.
Yeah, no, totally, but it's quite mad. You've got to think, like, a lot of kids, like when I was growing up and I thought, okay, I'm going to be a rock star at the age of 13 or whatever, you sort of go, well, this goes along with it, because you buy into the dogma that is attached to rock and roll. So if you buy into that, you emulate that, and then you go down a route where you will never be able to become a person who plays in a stadium because you haven't got the discipline.
Yeah.
You've got to treat it as a job. So these people like Nurgle, Slipknot, Metallica, rather than slamming like drinks and doing drugs, they're probably like doing CrossFit and like doing things and meditation.
Well, if you're doing like a 3-hour show, 2-hour show, you've got to have the stamina, haven't you? You've got to.
Oh, totally, man. Yeah,
that's a good point actually, because like the WWE now, they get drug tested every day, so
honestly,
it isn't happening. So they just play video games backstage.
Well, there's this one guy, is it Matt Cardona or something like that? He was a wrestler for WWE, but he's got a toy channel on YouTube and he just talks about toys.
Oh, Zack Ryder, yeah.
Oh, is it Zack Ryder? I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, well, that might be his real name, but yeah. And there's another guy who does a video game channel on YouTube as well.
And like, I was really interested. Like, we were talking earlier about those old wrestling toys with the pullback arms and stuff, and I was thinking, I want to get some of those. But apparently, because he does his toy podcast, because of him, the prices of these toys have skyrocketed because of his podcast. So when I went on eBay to go and get some, they've gone so high up in price now.
Which toys are we talking about? Like the original ones?
So you had the LJN ones, which were really shit, and they had like wire in them.
Can you hear that, everyone?
Is it Max?
Yeah.
So they were like Bendhams, but the Hasbro did ones where the legs didn't move, but they all had like an action feature. So like, Jake the Snakes, you pulled the arm back. Some you pulled their.
I think
chest
I took a photo and put it on my Instagram. I found one the other day.
Probably, yeah.
The things.
I remember the Bushwhackers arms used to.
Yeah,
go
they
like
did that,
didn't
they?
What was it? Typhoon and the other one. What was that?
Oh yeah.
Earthquake
and Typhoon, yeah.
They were just huge, weren't they? I'll tell you what, like, I'm just going to list off some wrestlers as well, just thinking about it. Like, Andre the Giant. If you watch the documentary for that.
I have actually.
Him,
I watched it the other week.
Anybody want a peanut?
Oh. Man, that made me cry.
Yeah, bless him.
I was bawling, bless him. So, like, everyone's looking at him and he has to go in this car and he's, like, crunched up in the car and, like...
Did he have one of those diseases where he kept growing?
I think... I don't know what
pretty
it was,
much.
but I think pretty much it was, wasn't it?
Have you heard the behind-the-scenes story of Princess and the Bride? And apparently he did a fart that lasted like 50 seconds.
In that documentary, they talk about how much he loved farting as well, don't they?
And when they talking about like when he was in the back of the van and like obviously literally in the back of the van, they put like a 24. But I think it's Jake the Snake who's talking about it as well.
Yeah, he smashed the beers, didn't he? And
he
wines.
just put like 48. Yeah, and a bottle of wine looked like a beer in his hand. And like Hulk Hogan was huge as well. And I remember there's a match between him and Hulk Hogan, and I think is it Hulk Hogan's back that's bad or it's Andre's?
There is a match, and he's ready to retire. It's the WrestleMania one, isn't it? And
because I was surprised, not surprised, but there was so much respect for like Andre. Like from all, like that's the one thing I got from that documentary is that everyone who talked about him just like.
I think he was just like the lovable giant, wasn't he?
Well, you wouldn't want to get in his bad side, would you? So
who was it who jumped on Jake the Snake's snake? Was it Andre? Or was it Earthquake? I remember there was a match where his snake got killed because one of the fat dudes jumped on it.
Maybe there's the classic match where where he sets the snake on Macho Man.
And he does actually bite him.
Yeah, and before the match, like Macho Man's like, make him like, are you sure like the poison's been taken out? And Jake's like, yes.
Wasn't it a pipe? It doesn't have poison.
He makes him bite him, doesn't he? Like Jake has to have it bite him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he makes it bite him, and obviously Jake gets really like pissed off at this. So he like, I don't agree with animal cruelty at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he basically winds the snake up, like beats the shit out of him before the match. So during the match, the snake won't let go of Macho Man and just like stays in him for like an hour or something.
My life, man.
It's crazy. Like so, Jake the Snake's still alive. Terry Funk's still alive, but people like Macho Man, he's passed away, hasn't he? Obviously, Andre the Giant's passed away. The Ultimate Warrior passed away. He changed his name to become the Ultimate Warrior, didn't he?
I mean, the other, a bit more of a controversy. Who was the chap who killed his family as well?
Funny you should say that because unbeknownst to me that this was going to happen, I've been watching a series called Dark Side of the Ring. It's been out for a while, but I've only just got around to it, and I've just finished the 2-parter on Chris Benoit. He was that guy.
Chris Benoit.
So what happened there then?
Oh
Dark
man!
shit.
Do you know much about the story?
No, I don't know anything about this. Is new to me.
Okay, so I'm going to let Garry field this one.
I mean, essentially, he killed his wife, his young boy, and then 2 days later hung himself.
Shit.
I know this isn't the happiest podcast ever, but what came from that when they scanned his brain?
Oh, was it like Was it like the NFL kind of injuries?
Yeah. It's called CET.
Yeah,
I think.
I watched the documentary on Netflix about the American footballer who they say may have had that.
Yeah.
That's
right. I think we watched that at the same time, didn't we? And he was having relations with another man, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. I don't think he was doing the what was it called, the something screwdriver there. We'll cut that bit out as well. Gary's gonna kill me.
What was I going to say? My mind's gone dead. Oh yeah, so you know when Bret Hart left WWF, was that because his brother was the one who died in the ring?
Yeah.
So what happened there? Because Owen Hart, wasn't it?
Owen Hart, he was going to the ring like on a zip line, and it broke. He fell in the ring and.
Is that on video as well? Has that been tagged?
I guess people there are watching it.
Yeah, if you're the morbid arsehole, then you could probably find it. But I respect.
I'm not going to look at it. No. I just wondered. That's horrendous.
Yeah, so I imagine people were there, watching that live.
There's so many horrible stories with it. I mean, that's one of the worst things. It just goes to show you can't push people to these limits, and luckily for people that do it these days, it's not so much of an issue. But back in the day,
I forgot to say, my actual first introduction to wrestling was the British one, because my nan used to love the British one with the. There was an Undertaker then, but there was giant haystacks and stuff like that.
I was about to say giant haystacks was the famous one, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was into all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it was on the telly. I can vaguely remember seeing it on ITV, but they might have been repeats.
Yeah, I think we were probably too young.
Yeah, it kind of it was massive. I've read a couple of books about it. It's really interesting, and
they tried to bring it back a few years ago, or last year or something. So I don't know if it's ever going to come back. But
so what was it? I think it didn't really set the world on fire when it came back. The British wrestling scene is amazing, but I don't think it's quite ready to
transfer into.
It's not quite there. I think it will be soon.
See, I'm kind of like that. I'd love to go to a British show with you.
Oh, it's amazing.
The one I've been to the one at the university in Birmingham before, because Chris from a band called Dead Sun Rising, he actually wrestled in it, and it was just wicked to see a friend go and get in the ring and do his thing, and he was brilliant.
I pictured Tom there ripping off his clothes, and he's got his leotard underneath.
What do you think's happening? I've told you. What's the name? What's my character name again? Donk?
Thomas the Wank.
Whopper.
Thomas the Wank.
Whopper.
Whopper. Yeah, it's Whopper. Big Whopper.
Well, your surname though, Garry,
Garry Payne.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. I don't think I'm quite built for it, but.
You are, Garry. I've seen you with your top off.
Show your guns.
Nah, I'd last 2 seconds, man.
Pea shooters.
But no, I before all the COVID bollocks, I used to go a couple of times a month to see go to the wrestling. Sometimes more.
What are they called? The nights there.
There's different promotions, so it just depends what's on. For me, it's a promotion in Southampton and London called Revolution Pro.
Right. Okay.
And for my money, that's the best promotion in the UK.
Well, didn't you tell me that one of these wrestlers spat at someone once there? Or am I making this up?
Oh yeah. People do stuff like that all the time.
People get so into it. In that documentary, you watch that one wrestler goes off on that one guy because he spits on him. Yeah. And it looks like the most unsafe because he obviously has to go up some stairs onto a balcony, and that flipping gate that's holding people back from falling off the floor because he's that big and powerful. It's like it's almost bending, like flipping.
There's a like Rev Pro do a kind of like a monthly show. It's a cockpit and it's like, I don't know, 200 capacity. It's just like a little in the round fit. It's normally just used for like theatre. And I've nearly had like someone kind of like moonsault straight into my face quite a few times. Like you have to get up and like run out of the way. They're doing everything they can to like not hurt you, and the St John's ambulance are in there, but
St John's, you'll be fine, mate.
Yeah,
absolutely fine. They'll put a band-aid on it and you'll be sorted. Don't worry about that boot in your face.
So I've had a few close calls, definitely.
I was going to say there's another couple before we like wrap it up. There's two other things I wanted to mention. There was and I can't remember the name of the film, and I'm hoping you can, Gary. Is it Raven, one of the women wrestlers? There was I don't know if it's Raven, but there was a biopic on her, and what's his name from Spaced, isn't it?
No, it's not Raven, isn't her name?
Oh,
it's Paige, isn't it?
Paige, yeah.
Paige. I don't know why I think it's Raven.
It's called Wrestling with My Family or something.
Fighting with My Family or something like that. It's a good little watch, isn't it, that film?
Because I think I talked to you about it, and I'm just thinking of wrestling things, and I enjoyed that. It was a good, heartfelt movie.
I think if you're into the wrestling when you're a kid, it's always going to have a little piece of your heart, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was nice to see Wayne the Rock Johnson in that as well.
Or Dwayne?
Wayne.
Dwayne Dwibbly.
Wayne Whopper.
Wayne Whopper.
Well, the main girl in Fighting with My Family, it's Florence Plough.
Pubics.
She's the one. She's the main girl from Midsummer.
Oh, is it? I didn't even realise that.
And she's a really good actress. But I was going to ask, who's your favourite wrestler then, Gary? We know who Tom's is.
Oh, look at that face.
Of all time?
Yeah, go on.
Goldust,
really?
Because
it is as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he was a WCW character. I might be wrong.
He's had to go in everything pretty much over the years.
He said.
Yeah, you get fired and move on.
What does he say, Gary? What's his thing?
Definitely not doing any impressions of that.
Go on, do it. I'm sure you were doing it the one day. It's brilliant.
Nah.
What was it?
No.
Aww.
You can say, just say it. Then you don't have to verbalise it in his.
It's more of it's more of an action.
That's it. What does he do?
Is it like a Bruce Forsyth?
It's kind of a.
Come on.
I can't do it.
Oh.
Go on, Gary.
Anyway,
he's thinking about it.
I thought about it. I nearly did it, but no. But he's just really like a bizarre character, and the thing is that he can like really work as well. He's amazing to watch.
Who was the one I liked? The British one who came in with like loads of dancing people.
What?
Oh,
Gary knows what I know.
Yeah, we were a bit obsessed with him for a little bit, but I can't remember his name. He got sacked for like beating his partner up and stuff, I think.
Oh, I don't like you anymore. But he used to.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, he had all the posse with him and stuff, didn't he?
He had like a whole posse. Like it was like what's the name of the film?
I really can't remember.
Anyway,
that's annoying, but yeah.
Anyway,
so throughout the years, like there's been certain wrestlers who become quite famous. Obviously, in the 80s, it was Hulk Hogan and like Roddy Piper. Well, what I'm trying to get is they become film stars, don't they? So like, Hulk Hogan had a
Mr. Nanny is a classic.
Well, yeah, I mean, like he started off in Rocky 3, and he did No Holds Barred, which actually has loads of wrestlers in. If you haven't seen No Holds Barred,
which film is it where he's an alien? That was one of my favourite films. What a film!
Yeah, we used to rent Suburban Commando
all the time. I love that film, man.
I think he was in one of the Three Ninjas films, and he was like Mr. Nanny, as you said. And then,
wasn't he on the boat, or was that the same thing?
Oh, that was the TV series, wasn't it?
Air something.
What was it?
Air Fox? No.
No. It was like...
Well, Miami something. Tropical Thunder.
Thunder in Paradise.
That's it, yeah.
Thunder in Paradise. Oh, the girls are pretty. Oh, they look nice. That was the song.
Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2, when he comes up on the cinema
breaks
screen.
The fourth wall.
Oh, Ooh, yes, nice call, Garry.
But then you had like Rowdy
that.
Roddy Piper in They Live,
yeah,
and did he do Hell Comes to Frogtown or something?
Oh, he did, but that film isn't very
Yes.
good, is it?
I watched that for the first time on Amazon the other day, and I had to turn it off halfway through. It's crap.
Because I like cult weird movies, and I thought, hang on, this looks pretty good. Watched it, and I was like, this is a load of trouser. This is awful.
Load of trousers.
But like, no one's had a career like The Rock, though. I mean, like, that guy's fucking in everything. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane.
Fair play to him.
Because he comes from a wrestling family as well, doesn't he? Like most wrestlers, I suppose.
Yeah,
But
big
he was
time,
in the
yeah.
NFL for a bit, wasn't he? Or he was a football player, wasn't he?
Maybe college football.
Yeah. But college football in America is massive, though, isn't it? It's like it's
Yeah,
almost as big as the NFL.
he's from a big wrestling family, and a lot of his family is still wrestling now as well, like cousins and stuff.
Well, he's still maintained like a presence, hasn't he, in wrestling still to this day. He still pops up. I don't know if he wrestles anymore, but I know he still pops up in it. Or
Yeah, he's always good value for money, basically.
yeah. So
I think, Garry, it's been amazing having you on. It was lovely to speak to you.
Yeah, sorry about technical difficulties, but
Don't
so
worry,
they'll be edited out. No one will know.
including all the bumming stuff. No, we'll edit that bit out as well. But thank you so much for coming on, and I think we should
Pleasure.
do another episode with you. We'll have to decide a subject. Have you got a subject that you'd like to do, like down the line?
I'm into, as you know, loads of nerdy stuff. So
Go on, name some stuff.
gaming, anime, movies.
We should do some anime.
Yeah.
I'm not into anime. Ollie looks fuming.
No, like, don't get me wrong. Like, Akira, I think is amazing. Like Perfect Blue, stuff like that. I love stuff like that, and I love Studio Ghibli films. But like, when you get into like
The episodic kind of stuff.
yeah, that kind of stuff, no, that's not for me. But
Garry could tell us like why we should be into it.
all right, well, maybe you could tell us some ones to watch, and we'll watch them and see.
Maybe,
how-
yeah.
We'll figure something out because I'd love to have you back on, man.
No, yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm a long-time listener. First time caller. Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for coming on, Garry. Much apprecited. We kind of just rambled on about wrestling. I don't know if it's been any use to anybody, but I've enjoyed talking
No, it's
about
been
it.
really fun, man.
But yeah, so yeah, don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. What are you doing? We're on Apple Podcasts. Yeah, we're all over the internet. We're whores of the internet. So please add us, follow us, subscribe to us, all that bollocks. And yeah, we'll see you next time. See you later. Goodbye.
See ya.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I had to get it in there all.